CVPH Medical Center again on January 10th. This is the second time I've been able to say 2011. Do you say 2011 or 2011, Mike?
I don't say it.
Oh, you're not?
I'm just tickled to be able to get it right on my checks.
Yeah, fortunately, I haven't had to write any yet, so I haven't had it wrong. But we are at CVPH Medical Center. We've been here many times before. Every time I go in the door, there's something new to talk about. For those people who don't know, Mike Hildebrand is Director of Marketing and Public Relations and has worked here for...
19 years.
Is it 19 already?
It is 19 years.
Is it that amazing? And you've seen massive changes, and I've seen them right behind you because you invite us over every time it happens.
And actually, we're very pleased to have you here today because I think we're going to be showing you two different areas. One is our third cath lab that we're opening this week. And the second thing, we'll take you around to our cardiac, or actually it's our cardiovascular short stay unit, which is absolutely gorgeous. But we're also going to try to bring in as many people as possible that are involved with this incredible heart center here that has been just so successful. And I'll tell you, and I've told Calvin, getting them together is like herding cats.
We've been down that road before, haven't we?
We're going to do our best.
We've tracked them down to offices all over this place, and I recall what Physicians Hospital looked like in the old days, what Champlain Valley Hospital looked like when they merged, and now this campus, which seems to have spread tentacles all over the North Country. It's wonderful.
We have grown, and I think we've grown intelligently, and I think our patients are loving it. And in fact, the expansion that we're talking about today is actually a direct result of increased demand, increased volume, and just the fact that we've got to add these facilities and able to, to meet the needs of the people.
We might issue master's degrees after we make our little tour with Miles a little later this morning. This will be a learning curve for me.
Well, I'll tell you, it's amazing. I mean, Gordy, 48% of our volume is now coming from outside of Clinton County for our heart program.
Think about it.
It really says that this program has filled a tremendous need for the region, and certainly from a numbers standpoint. Last year in 2010, we did almost 2,500 procedures in our two cath labs. More than 500 of those were electrophysiology procedures. They're going to be done in this new third cath lab. It's really going to create a lot of advantages for us.
There are so many unknowns when you delve into this territory. It was hard to predict where we'd be now, but we seem to be ahead of it now.
Well, If you went back and looked at the very first program we did about the Heart Center, one of the things that we said was we need to hit the ground running. We've got to be successful from the get-go because we're not going to get a second chance rather, and we did. I mean, we've got great outcomes, tremendous patient service. People love us.
And the feedback is terrific from all over. Everything I hear is very positive.
Well, we've got a great staff, we've got great physicians, and it's all come together.
Mike, you set the tone.
I tried.
It's going to be hard to follow him, Miles, but we will. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't change venues yet, but we're going to before we're finished. Miles Carver, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm great.
Manager of Invasive Cardiology.
Yeah, big title.
I dropped the microphone with that. That's wonderful. And the first thing I asked him, you can't have been named after Miles Davis.
Yes, it is.
And you know what he said, folks? Oh, yeah, I was.
I am.
My dad, and I was born
They
in
were
France.
acquaintances.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
You're going to be named after somebody. It might as well be somebody like Miles.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's wonderful. I love it.
Isn't that great?
It is.
Tell us a little bit about you. Where were you born and brought up?
Well, I'm born in France. I was born into a military family, so I've lived everywhere. I migrated this way for the position here. Plattsburgh and CVPH is just a wonderful opportunity. So I came up here from Madison, Wisconsin, which was the last place I'll say that I lived. But lived in a number of countries, Germany, Japan, Korea. Lived in virtually every state. So a lot of traveling. This is my retirement.
So you've been here how long, Miles?
I've been here just about 6 months.
So you were almost here in the summertime. We do have beautiful seasons here.
You do.
But
You do.
it's a matter of perspective, I guess, as to how beautiful they are. When
Well,
you wake up like this morning in January and it's like 16 degrees, and
Yeah,
wind
well,
is blowing, a gale.
I did 10 years in South Dakota, so
Oh, you did?
the winters here are nothing.
That's nothing. I hope you like it here.
I love it
We
here.
do have a quality of life which we tout whenever we get a chance. It's a good place.
It is, and that's one of the reasons my wife and I decided to move here and make this our retirement.
Now, how about this business? How did you get involved in this business?
I was an X-ray tech in the Army, and
son of a gun.
someone
Okay.
offered me an opportunity to work at a heart lab, and I thought that would be an interesting experience. I went, and from the first day I was hooked, and I was back in the early 90s. So I did this before they had all the stents and everything else.
Progress has been truly amazing in my lifetime, but in the last decade,
Oh, it's
that's enough to
phenomenal.
blow you out of the tub.
It is,
Way
and
above.
it's increasingly, especially in where we're expanding now in the electrophysiology, it's the fastest growing part of the cardiovascular services, and so today's technology and the new computers and everything are making all of this able to bring to folks, in an outpatient sort of basis now.
We can hear saws running and people cleaning up and doing things, so we know that this part of it is brand spanking new.
Absolutely, we'll be doing our first case in this particular lab tomorrow.
Oh, you will really?
Absolutely.
Isn't that amazing? So explain what we're going to see today.
Today we'll take you just to see the facility, which we call electrophysiology. The short term is EP, to make those long words short. But basically what that means is we look at the electrical system of your heart. And so anything that has to do with the electrical rhythm of your heartbeat, things like that, implanting pacemakers, we do in this type of facility.
Isn't that great? So what have we got in this end?
And this end, we have the lab. Right now, what we're standing in is the actual procedural lab, procedural space. So it entails basically a large C-arm. That lets us take pictures of the heart. And in today's world, everything is digital. It's no longer film. On the panel here, we have a number of screens. In this type of facility, we need to look at a lot of different inputs and different modalities, such as ultrasound, X-ray, everything else. We can bring all of that into one bank of monitors so that the physician can see. So this is the actual procedure room, which is, we have a table here that would house our patients, and go from there.
Isn't that great? I can tell you're going to be around here for a long time. We're not going to let you retire for a long time, Miles.
Well, I hope I have a little bit of time.
All right, so we're going to move along?
Sure.
Let's do that. All we did is turn around. We didn't even leave the room. There's so much more we want to know while we're coming here.
Okay.
And Michael was talking about electricians and plumbers.
Well,
Is that...
That's a really good way to explain exactly what we do in the cardiology world. So this is an EP lab or an electrophysiology lab, and this would be like if someone were to come to work on your house, it would be an electrician. So this is the electrician of the heart. Anything that has to do with the conduction, the wires in your heart, the electrical pathways, the electrophysiologist would take care of here in this department.
So how does the person end up here? Do they go to their regular physician first?
You can go to your regular
Normally-
physician if I'm at home and I feel like I'm a little more tired than I used to be, or something that's just not normal. I go see my regular physician. They would do basically an EKG probably, or a stress test, find out what's going on. If they saw something like a slow heartbeat or things like that, they would refer you to a cardiologist. And to be more precise, it'd be an electrophysiologist, because we're looking at the conduction of your heart. With those, he would determine whether or not you needed what we would call pacemaker implant, things like that. So we do those here also. If your heart were beating faster, or you had another heart rhythm that maybe was a little more difficult to sort of map out, we would then bring you here and take a look at your heart from internal EKG. So when we go to the normal physician to have an EKG, we put a couple of patches on our body, and here we would put more precise patches on, and that way we would be able to figure out exactly where those beats are coming from, what they were doing, and we can fix them. We can control them with some machinery that we have here. We can have you have extra beats, we can slow those beats down, we can basically map out where those problems are coming from in your heart and then fix them here.
And this kind of thing wasn't possible a generation ago.
No, electrophysiology has been around a while, but as far as what we do today, the new technology in the last 3 or 4 years has just come light years from where we were before. So it was sort of starting out where the old Star Trek kind of thing where we were. We're now at the next generation.
Is that? Don't you love it? The next generation. Now, a person could conceivably end up here by coming to the emergency room with those problems you mentioned.
Absolutely. I could be at work and pass out and not really know what's happening, present in the ER, again, find out that there was something that happened with the electrical conduction of my heart, and then we would bring you here and we'd be able to take care of those issues.
It dawns on me that these problems that you've described are probably more common than the average person may realize who's watching this program.
They're very common. Prior to having this ability to treat these, a lot of us just went home. We would think we have palpitations, things like that, and we would just work through those. And sometimes, we had some issues where we had premature deaths early on in life because this technology is not available. We are now able to figure out that those palpitations and things like that can lead to some more serious events that we're able to then step in and effectively treat those before they get to be a problem.
So these are life-saving techniques now that we're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. The amount of lives that are saved through this type of technology on a daily basis all over the world are just phenomenal.
So what's the exact process when a person comes in here?
When you come in, we would talk to you. We'd hook you up with a team of folks that are prepared to handle your particular procedure, and they've looked at all of your values and things like that. We'd bring you here. You'd get basically a little rest. We give you a little rest and then stretch your back in the back, put you on here, give you a little something to relax you a little bit. We do not put you out, so it's not like a regular surgery where you're actually completely out. We want to talk to you, know how you're feeling. We bring you into the room. You'd have a team of 3 or 4 people working with you along with a physician, place you on the table. We numb the groin area with lidocaine, just like you're going to the dentist, exactly the same thing. Very little pain involved, and we control that with other medications so that you don't have any pain while you're on the procedure. Sometimes procedures take anywhere from a half an hour to 5 or 6 hours, depending on the complexity and type of procedure. Typically, an hour and a half to 2.5 hours is what you can expect. These are outpatient, so you'd come in the morning, get all of your preparations, and then we would send you home in the evening.
But the information you gain is really definitive.
It's
isn't it?
phenomenal. The information that we gain when we're looking at the heart rhythm and things on our system, it's almost like reading a book. We can tell that precise. So it's to us, those rhythms and electrograms that we're seeing are just like words, and they tell us something about your heart. So basically, we write a book of your heart, and we're able to figure out how that's going and what chapter we need to be on. If you need follow-up, if we're going to fix that problem right here and now, it's going to be complete, and you're not going to look to come back, or if there's something that's going to be a lifelong where you're going to need to be treated over a period of time. So both of those we'll find out here when we're done.
It's truly amazing. And the first one will be here tomorrow.
The first one in this lab, yes, will be here tomorrow. And so we've done this type of procedure ever since we've opened up in the since the early 2000s, and but this lab is allowing us, one, to take the next step into the next realm of sort of electrophysiology procedures and bring to this area a dedicated team of folks who will actually be doing this type of procedure, and two, it allows us to expand in other areas by having this procedure here.
We're lucky to have you here.
I'm not sure if you're lucky to have me.
It very, very well. We hope you enjoy your stay here. I'll talk to you next summer on about July 15th.
Absolutely.
When it's 85 degrees.
Well, that'll be a good time to talk about. Be on my back porch with the barbecue.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's move on.
All right.
Well, we have moved. We're at a different venue. Is it Dr. Shufi?
Siufi, yes.
Sufi, what's the first name?
Samer.
I'm so delighted to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I've seen you on TV several times. I've seen you in the newspaper.
goodness.
I've never had a chance to meet you.
That may not be the most exciting thing you've done. This is the most exciting thing I've done in a long time.
Good.
Where are we now?
Well, I can only talk to you about the new lab, which
Yes.
I assume you have visited
Yes.
already.
Yep.
So we will be starting work in there tomorrow, well, maybe Wednesday. couple of days from now, we'll be doing the first case there. It's very exciting for all of us to have a lab dedicated to electrophysiology, which is the specialty of cardiology that deals with heart rhythm disorders. And up until now, we used to do our procedures in the cath lab, so we had to share one of the labs with the doctors who do the cardiac catheterizations and the interventions, etc. Well, now we have our new lab, our own lab, dedicated to our procedures, where we'll be implanting pacemakers and defibrillators and doing complex ablations for heart rhythm disorders and such.
Doctor, where did you come from?
Well, I've been here a little over 4 years now. Prior to that, I was practicing in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I decided to move up here for family reasons, and it was one of the best decisions I've made.
I'm so glad to hear stories like you, Michael. I love stories like that.
Yeah, I came up here to start the electrophysiology program, and it's been a tremendous success. We have grown to the point where we need a separate lab, which we have now. It's been very exciting to build the program from scratch and to offer this service to the community, and I'm very pleased to say we have a top-notch program that the hospital and the community can be proud of.
How many procedures a year would you say?
I think we're doing roughly 500 procedures a year.
That's amazing.
That is a significant number for a place like this in such a short period of time. So I'm very pleased.
And it's nice to have new things, state-of-the-art equipment, new cath lab, new facilities.
Absolutely, we have state-of-the-art electrophysiology lab. We have, of course, we have the X-ray system. We have ultrasound. We have a mapping system that helps us with our complex procedures. So we have a state-of-the-art lab where we can do very complex procedures, which are usually done in large tertiary care centers.
This is real science. To me, it's real science. It must be exciting for you, too. You've been in the business a while.
It is very exciting to me. I love electrophysiology. I love this field. I actually started doing this, well, I did my training at Dartmouth in '94. I trained between '94 and '96. I spent 2 years doing electrophysiology. I trained with a fine mentor, Dr. Greenberg, and other physicians who once in a while come up and visit this area and give us talks and conferences. And of course, he's very, very proud of what we have achieved here. So it's very exciting.
Now, it's a silly question, but did you have any idea, let's say when you were 20 years old, that you might be doing this?
Not at all. When I was 20 years old, this field did not exist. The field of cardiac electrophysiology is a relatively new field. It has evolved to become somewhat of a separate subspecialty of cardiology. So this field did not exist 20 years when I was 20 years of age.
That's hard to believe.
Yes.
Now look at it now.
And even when I finished my training, many of the things we do now, we did not do back then. And so I've been in this field since its infancy, and I've watched it grow, and it's been very exciting to me.
And who knows where it will be in the next 20 years?
Nobody knows.
Beyond belief, huh?
That's right. That's
The
right.
stars and beyond. Another galaxy. Doctor, it's great to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Good
Same
fortune
here.
with everything you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Well, Robin Flint is here. I got the name right.
Yeah, that's correct.
I can only absorb those things for about 30 or 40 seconds. I think I might have.
That's why we carry our name badges around.
All right, what's your job here?
I'm the Director of Cardiovascular Services here at CVPH.
The boss.
Yeah, well, that's what people call me that, but I'm not a very good boss. I just kind of, as Mike will say, herd cats.
Herding cats is very important. That's where it starts sometimes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I always like to go back in time. Robin, where were you from?
I came here from the Buffalo area. I grew up in the Finger Lakes, spent about 13 years in Erie, Pennsylvania, moved back to the Finger Lakes area and worked in Buffalo for about 12 years, and then about 2 years ago moved up here.
That's amazing. Wherever you go in the world and you say you're from upstate New York, they say, "Oh, Buffalo."
Yeah, well, we know upstate. I didn't know the North Country existed until I came up here.
Isn't that
so.
amazing? Buffalo calls itself North Country, too.
Well, that's right. Western New York, from Western New York to Northern New York.
So how did this position open up for you?
Well, I wasn't really looking for a job. I was very happy with what I was doing in Buffalo, but my wife and I had just had a conversation. Our third child was entering college, and we were trying to decide, when all was said and done, where were we going to end up. A lot of our family moved south, as a lot of people do. My wife and I loved the Northeast. We spent a lot of time in the Adirondacks when we were both younger.
you did? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We camped at Stillwater Reservoir every year for decades when it was my dad's favorite place to
You
go.
just came home.
That's
what
right.
brought
That's
it.
right. My wife is from Cooperstown. We knew we wanted to stay in upstate, and as a chance may have it, I got a phone call from a recruiter, and normally I just delete those messages. And this one I happened to listen through. I heard them mention Plattsburgh, and I went, what the heck? I'll take a look. And I got a chance to get on the phone with Zadie Laughlin down in the Human Resources, and she was a wonderful contact. And about 6 months after that, here I am.
Did you picture all of this 2 years ago?
Well, not when I first came up. I really didn't know what to expect. But once I saw the commitment that the hospital had to building a comprehensive cardiovascular program here at CVPH, all of the opportunity became clearly evident to me. Again, I left a very nice job in Buffalo. I was very comfortable there. But it was the opportunity here, both from a hospital perspective and the service to the surrounding community, that really made the decision for me.
People tell me I use the same words over and over again to explain things when I'm excited about them, like the word incredible. But when I first heard about this program, its initiation, and now when I come in here today, to me it is incredible.
And it's a great word. One of the things that I noted, and I had a little talk that I gave for the American Heart Association shortly after I got here, and I think I might have used incredible to state the fact
thank goodness. Somebody else did
that
it
this
too.
program existing in this community and the quality of the staff and the physicians that we have here matches anything that I've experienced in my career, and to have it in the North Country of New York is just, the other word would be phenomenal.
Yeah, our footprints are being seen by people all around the world here, and the reputation of this facility pleases me no end as I watch it grow.
Well, that's probably the biggest issue here, is really the opportunity to serve the community, and I think CVPH takes that role very seriously. And obviously their commitment to the cardiovascular program is unparalleled, because this is an obligation that we have as an institution. It's an obligation that we have as a program to serve the North Country, and that doesn't just include the community of Plattsburgh. We're growing. We probably have a catchment area of over 100-mile radius surrounding Plattsburgh.
Easy.
And just in the fourth quarter of this previous year, 2010, for the cardiovascular service line, 48% of the patients that we took care of came from outside of Clinton County.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
a big deal.
Good figure. I don't mind repeating that over and over and over again. It's so important to know, because a number of years ago, people would have a problem like you face here every day and say, now where are they going to ship me?
Well,
Guess what? They're going to ship you right here.
They're going to ship you here, and that's part of that word obligation again. Is that if we're going to provide this level of service, then we're obligated to be able to provide as much as we possibly can. There are certainly things that we don't do here, but part of our obligation then is to make sure if patients come to us, that then we get them where they need to go. And sometimes most of the time it's at CVPH. But sometimes it's not, and we have an obligation to make sure that we make that connection and patients get the level of care that they need. That's the role that we play in the community.
Robin, there are a lot of people, young people especially, watching this program who are trying desperately to decide what they want to do with their lives. I'm at least 3 times older than you are, and I still don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Well, now that you've made it to your 125th birthday, I commend you on being able to still stand upright and have an interview. But
I can do that for a while. I can't hold it in very long, but after all the fruitcake over the holiday. But our young people would like to know, when did you make a decision to get into this field, and what kind of education did you
Well, I actually came out of an education background originally.
That shows.
My degree was my undergraduate degree is in education, and as part of that, I got into physical education, and as part of that, I got into the area of exercise science. But my first job coming out of college, I actually interviewed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for what ended up to be at a hospital-based wellness center in Erie, Pennsylvania. And so right from the very beginning, I started to work with cardiac patients. We had a cardiac rehab program, and that's where I started. Took an interest in diagnostic cardiology, did a lot of on-the-job training in terms of all of the things that we do in the heart center here, for example, stress testing and echocardiography and ultrasound, those types of things. And then after that, moved to the cath lab, and after that, moved to vascular intervention, and after that, moved to vascular ultrasound. So there was a lot of opportunity that was provided me by the institutions that I worked for that allowed me to grow my career. And at one point, I figured out how to do a staffing schedule.
Oh,
And
that was the beginning.
and that was the beginning of the end. I ended up in that that initial supervisory position, and 20 years later, here I am.
You have to be proud to have a group like you have working here.
I couldn't be number one. I'm no longer surprised. When I got here, I was very surprised at the quality of care that was being provided. We get used to hearing about cardiovascular services being provided the best in large metropolitan areas, and the concept of coming to what has historically been a community hospital and see the level of care that's being provided here, not only by the staff but by the physicians, was incredible. And now I have an incredible level of satisfaction and pride in what we're able to do, and in a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for continuing to build and grow the program, because I know we have the resources to do it well.
Are you doing a little downhill skiing? Or what?
I do. I live. I actually moved in.
See that smile? You can tell. They're a breed apart, these guys that go out on the mountains when the chill factor's 20 below.
Part of my wife and I wanted to be away from it all. We had a bit of property where we came from outside the Buffalo area, but a big part of our decision in moving up here was I have about a 10-minute drive to Whiteface from my house. So
Not bad.
That's not a bad
too
way to
shabby.
Not a bad way to live.
Yeah.
10-minute drive to Whiteface and a 2-minute walk to the West Branch of the Ausable River.
Isn't it
So
wonderful?
it's beautiful.
It's when they say God's country, I think he started here and then went to the Euphrates and did his other thing later.
Yeah, he practiced here and then perfected it in other areas. So
Robin, it's so great to meet you. You're a
Thank-
charming guy.
Thanks
I
for
can
your
see
time.
why you're the boss. Have a great day, and thanks again.
You too.
Poor Joyce Favreau. She'd been waiting in the wings for half an hour. We get people and we just go on and talk, and she's made 3 sterling entrances. How are you, Joyce?
Good, and you?
Oh, it's so great to talk to you. And you're the only one we've talked to today who is a native North Country girl from Shazy.
I am. I started here at CVPH in 1988.
Did you really?
I did. So, and I've worked my way through the ranks as a staff nurse from R3, and then way back when they had a coronary care unit. They no longer have that unit anymore. And then moved into the cardiac. I primarily focused my career on critical care at that point, and then I made my way through outpatient cardiology. And I've been the manager of non-invasive cardiology and cardiac rehab for 12 years. I've been overseeing that department, and recently, now I'm going to be overseeing all of the nurses in the cardiovascular services. So, and I will be undertaking the daily operations of this cardiovascular short stay unit.
So you spent time in critical care.
I did.
And
I did.
my daughter Barbie, who's now at Mather Memorial Hospital on Long Island, worked here at the medical center after she got her nursing degree and stayed in critical care for her entire career.
Yeah, it's a very stressful area of the hospital, but it's a very rewarding part of the hospital. But there is a time when a nurse will know it's time to leave. So, and you have to go along with that because it's so stressful. So.
You know, there are a lot of stressful parts of this job within this facility, but so absolutely vital and important.
Yep.
So, describe where we are and what this place is all about.
This is the cardiovascular short stay unit. It will be where we are going to take care of patients for that are post-cardiac cath, post-angioplasty, post-electrophysiology, and pacemakers, whose length of stay is expected to be less than 24 hours. Could be greater than 6, but less than 24. Typically, right now, those patients are the ones who get admitted to the floor, and it's a lot of work to do an admission and a discharge. So if we can bring them to this unit, have them stay overnight, it prevents having the workload on the nurses to admit and discharge patients, and a better experience for the patients here in the hospital for the short stay, because they stay in one place, they get admitted, they get recovered, they have the procedure, they come back. So the expectation would be a person who would come here would be staying in the hospital less than 24 hours, extended recovery. Somebody who's had a procedure and the recovery is greater than 6 hours.
Even I wasn't here in 1926 when Mr. Miner had a dream, and he and his wife drove by, and she said, I think that'd be a nice spot for a hospital right over there.
Yeah.
And they built Physicians Hospital. And what struck me as I walked into this beautiful facility is we are in the old part, the original part of the Physicians Hospital.
Yeah, we are. In fact, this wall behind us is a wall that cannot be moved. It is about 18 inches thick, and
No kidding.
and it holds the structure of the old Physicians Hospital.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So, and the contractors have done a great job to make this department really look state of the art. And in fact, it is state of the art. There are things in this department that the nurse will not have to leave the department for. We have our medications over in that corner. It's called a Pyxis. We have a tube system where we can send labs to the laboratory. We have our fax machine to be able to fax information to anywhere in the hospital we want to, or even outside of the hospital. We have all state-of-the-art computers. We have what we would call a central station. So we have 9 beds in here, but we can monitor all and visualize all 9 beds of that patient's rhythm right here at the central station. And we actually have 2 other monitors scattered throughout this department, so we could actually view a patient's rhythm no matter where we are, no matter where the nurse is.
Truly
So
amazing.
we have a visualization of a patient at all times. The acuity of the patient here is not going to be like critical care, but it has the potential that a patient may need critical services. We could take care of that patient right now at the bedside the way it's set up, and I will take you through and I'll show you the bedside. But if the patient needs that care, we can take care of it, stabilize the patient, and then transfer him to ICU, the progressive care unit. So we've kind of thought of everything. There really isn't anything in this unit that a nurse working here doesn't have. The only thing they don't have is their lunch provided here. They have to go to the
Let's see what we
cafeteria.
can do about that.
So-
Isn't that amazing?
It is. You know, it's come a long way from even 1988 when I started working here. So it's a,
1988 wasn't last Tuesday.
I know,
in
I
case
know.
you didn't
I know,
realize, Joyce. Just keep walking and talking, and I'll follow you with the microphone. I love it in here.
So down this hallway, we actually have 5 beds. This is the typical bedside of a patient, and it's not 100% set up, but patient bed. On the sides of the head wall, we have oxygen, suction, air, in case we ever had to put a patient on a ventilator. At the head of each bed, we have the call light for the patient and the emergency buttons if we need the patient to call a code 99 or something like that. Every patient, on the right, you'll see a Philips monitor. Every patient will be hooked up to that where it'll monitor their oxygen saturation, their blood pressure, their heart rate, and anything else we may want to monitor on that patient. That piece of equipment will give us that information, and that's the same information that goes to that central station that I spoke about earlier. They'll all have their own television, their own telephone, and we'll be putting little white noise machines to help drown out some of the nursing noise
Oh, really?
and noises of to help the patients kind of relax the best they can, because as much as we try to keep it quiet, it's still going to be noisy.
I was listening to a program on public radio this morning where dentists have discovered a way to mask the sound of a drill. So many people are so afraid of the sound of a drill.
Yeah.
I don't know
The
what
dentist.
at the dentist, they have some way of masking that sound. But the dentist can still talk to them and ask them how their wife and kids are when they've got sand inside of his mouth. Anyway,
So we have a patient bathroom on each side of the
Okay.
department as well. So this would be a patient bathroom. So we have 9 beds on this side. So we would have probably one nurse taking care of these 5 patients, going around, making their rounds. The whole unit will be staffed with 2 nurses and a critical care tech. A critical care tech is a person who helps the nurse out tremendously by, helping to collect data, vital signs, those kinds of things. And sometimes it's just a pair of eyes to say, that patient in whatever bed it needs some help or may need something extra that the nurse needs to provide. So
the best part of it is it's brand spanking new.
it absolutely is. And that's the great thing about this department is it's brand new. So it's new staff, it's new equipment, it's new everything. And everybody that I've hired are very, very, very excited about working in this unit. So we've actually started training them now in the cath lab. They'll train for about a month, and hopefully we'll be all set and ready to go by January 31st. That's the date we've chosen.
We're doing this on the 10th of January, and so we're on the cusp here.
You
This is
absolutely
wonderful.
are. I mean, the bedside, it's very rustic at this point. We don't have everything hooked up. So what you're seeing is just what's come in probably in the last week and a half or 2.
Best way to look at it is the way we are with the camera. We hope we never have to be a patient in here, but we'd feel good if we were.
This is how stocked we are. Empty.
Look at those towels. Look at that.
This will eventually be our clean utility room, so within the next week or 2, we will fill this room up with all of the supplies that a nurse may need at the bedside.
Joyce, how much of an input did you have when this place was being put together?
I was part of the committee to put this together. We had nurses from critical care, we had managers, we had construction workers. Everybody and anybody who had any kind of stake in this unit was part of it. So, and still to this day, I will, bring somebody in and say, I need for you to just look at the bedside, make sure we haven't missed anything. We think we have
wonderful.
everything, but you can never have enough people look at the unit because you want to make sure we haven't missed anything.
It's a word that entered the vocabulary, I don't know how many years ago, the word stakeholders.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
a little T-bone would be nice.
Yeah.
But stakeholders are important, and that's why I asked you that question, because especially in this facility, those people who are going to be involved are generally brought into the inner circle during the process, and
Right.
that pleases me, and I know it pleases you.
It does.
Because nurses know.
Nurses are it.
Yeah.
They truly have the best interest of the patient, and making their work easier to be able to take care of their patients is important. We have actually invited Beth Giroux is an environmental services director.
sure.
You would think that getting rid of wastes and keeping the unit clean is pretty low, but in our world it's pretty high.
Big time, sure.
Trying to keep infection down is important to us. So Beth was part of that committee. Robin, of course, was part of it. Miles was part of it. Taking everybody's perspective on how everybody takes care of a patient, because we will be taking patients from the cath lab, who Miles Carver manages. So we want the handoff of care between the cath lab and us to be seamless. And then we want our patients being discharged seamlessly as well. So anything that we can do to, again, involve those stakeholders is helpful.
It's really nice to be doing this before the place even becomes completely functional, so that our North Country can get a good look at it.
Yes.
You know what else is fun, Joyce? To go back and play these programs again 10 years later
Yeah.
and say, look at the way we did it in 2011.
Absolutely, because as I referred to, even though you say 1988 isn't very long ago, when you go back and look at technology when I started in critical care, in 1988. It's all changed now.
Almost 23 years, Joyce.
So,
I'm not rubbing it in
Yeah.
or anything. I
so
love it.
you know, way back when we used to hang nitro bottles.
Yeah,
And
sure.
they had to have a special tubing for the nitro and special syringes to put nitro in the bottles, and all of that is different. We no longer do that anymore. It's all, take it off the shelf and hang it up.
Yeah. What else haven't we seen here?
Well, this actually is kind of neat. On floors, if patients have seen nurses use, this is what we call a computer on wheels. It actually allows the nurse to bring her computer to the bedside. We are able to monitor medication administration by swiping patient's band, staff's badge, and patient record to make sure that we're giving the meds as it's ordered. So this actually allows the nurse to bring her work to the bedside versus doing everything at the desk.
Much more convenient than ever
Absolutely.
before.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
As we go around the unit, every department has a dirty utility room because you can't put clean stuff and dirty stuff together. It's all infection control. So this is our dirty utility room. It's probably the nicest, cleanest dirty utility room I've ever seen in this
So far, anyway.
Yep. So it's just a dirty utility room.
That's great.
This is the data closet. With the age of technology, you have to have a place to put all of the input of data and racks of technology and that kind of stuff. So that's the closet they keep all of their data in.
Yep.
Over here, when we're planning on expanding in 18 to 24 months to 20 beds if all goes well.
No kidding.
Yeah, and
Flash. I did not know that.
So we continue to even look to the future for the cardiovascular program. And when we do, this will be an area where we'll have a volunteer, somebody to greet the patients' families when they come in. Because when you enter the door here, as you can see, we're pretty spread out. It's a small unit now, but when we get to 20 beds, we're going to really have to direct the patients' families as to where to go. In the meantime, we fit it up, and we have a nurse practitioner and a PA that's going to be working 8:30 in the evening till 9 in the morning to kind of help make sure all of these patients are ready to go tomorrow and the next morning and be discharged. So they'll be working the off shifts to help get the patients ready, but also to help the cardiologists take call and assess patients to kind of give the cardiologists a break at night. So they're
There's a nice little sign when they come in the door, welcome to the cardiovascular short stay unit.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, we want patients to be welcomed, and we want them to feel comfortable while they're here. Do the best we can to take care of them in 24 hours and make their stay a comfortable stay. It's no fun to be in the hospital.
No, it's no fun. And I was just going to say, in some eons in the past, hospitals were frightening places. Nobody wanted to be in the hospital. Nobody wanted to go into the hospital. And then all of a sudden it dawned on people, let's brighten these walls up a little bit.
right.
Let's make peds look a little bit better. Let's look maternity a little bit brighter, so
Right.
you can start with a wholesome and almost friendly experience from the moment you walk in the door. And healing takes place when you take some of that fear away.
Absolutely, and that's probably the one thing when patients come through these double doors, they're going to see right away, is that these are not stark white walls.
Oh,
they're very
no,
colorful,
it's
they're very
wonderful.
homey. And the one thing that we haven't talked about is the foundation is actually doing a project right now to have a photo contest to actually select photos to be hung in this area.
Don't you
So-
like that idea? I love
It's
it.
very nice. So we're hoping to get, a lot of outdoorsy, Adirondack, or whatever anybody's pleasing to their eye picture in here.
I'll
So
see what I can
patients
do about getting some input into that.
right.
I've had a close association with the foundation here for many years, are still a part of their disbursement committee, and it pleases me that this foundation has the resources to help people who are truly in need in so many ways. So the auxiliary and the foundation, and there are a lot of unsung heroes within
Absolutely.
these walls, aren't there, Joyce?
There are. The foundation does a great job to help families in need in the community, and the staff, our staff of CVPH helps support the foundation. So we're very proud of the foundation and the
that's
work that it
wonderful.
does. So now we're on the other side of that wall that we couldn't move, and again, the bedsides are all the same. We have 9 beds.
Yeah.
So And again, I would envision another nurse working on this side, taking care of these 4 patients. And because of the wall, we built another small nurses station over here.
Oh, yeah.
So this nurse wasn't always at that nurses station. They could visualize, again, their patients over here.
Beautiful facility all the way around.
So another computer
Another
on
one.
wheels to bring to the bedside. This is the only private room we had. We had to build a private room because we needed a place for an isolation.
Oh,
There's certain things that we have to have patients isolated from other patients for, and
Sure.
this would be the room that they would go in. So we're now back to the beginning. We're back to where we started. So it's one huge circle. And
I want to explain a little bit more about the med station because this is a concept that people who maybe remember hospitals in the 1950s or 60s
Right.
wouldn't have a clue about. But when we say state of the art,
Right.
this is it. So explain this to me.
this is it. What used to happen is we used to have a cart many, many moons ago, and we would go bedside to bedside. One of the patient safety issues with the med cart is that every time a nurse opened the cart or left the cart, she had to have it locked. Human nature is that never happened. And so by law, we have to have a cart locked. And so this company, Cardinal Health, has this machine called a Pyxis. So a nurse will go up to this machine, and I don't know it very well. It's a touch screen. They put in their user.
Just like that, huh?
You put your user ID, your password, and then it gives you different sections to be able to, again, touch on and take meds out. There's built-in safety things. Whenever a nurse has to discard narcotics, there always has to be 2 nurses that discard the wastes. So this machine actually makes that second nurse be responsible for that waste of that narcotic. It's safety issues. So, and that is just one of many things that we have in this organization to provide safe patient care. The other one, when I said they swipe up the patient's wristband, the nurse's badge, and the med sheet, is just yet another to make sure that we're giving the right dose, the right med at the right time to the right patient. Those are all the checks and balances that we have within the nursing profession that Joe Public doesn't know that the nurse is responsible to do all of these things before they administer a medication.
That's wonderful. So your staff is complete now for this unit?
I have hired all of the staff, yes.
Ta-da! Take a deep breath.
Yeah, they're not all with me yet, though, because they have been released from their other units at different times. On the 17th, I will have everybody under my wing, so to speak, and we'll be in the process of training until January 31st. So it's all
That's when the
exciting.
fun begins, huh?
Well, you know what? Yes, it'll be interesting, but the nurses know what to do. It's
Yeah.
just truly training them up to say, this is what this unit is all about, and this is what we're going to focus on. And every nurse that I've hired and CCT, critical care tech, are very excited about coming to this unit. It's a new unit and new equipment. It's all good.
That's wonderful. Joyce, is there anything else about this unit you want to tell us before we leave you, even though we hate to go?
No, it's just
I know you're pleased to be here, and I can tell that you're a true professional, and that when you say you take these people under your wing, you're not kidding.
I do take them under my wing. And, again, personally, I'm very excited to have been given the opportunity to manage this unit from the very first manager on. You get to set standards and paperwork and guidelines and for this unit as it's going to run in the future. So, it's like starting off anything new. The beginning, you tweak it as you go, but you set the stage for how things are going to go in the future. And right now, everything has a good feeling for this unit in the future.
We can't wait to come back a year from now and prove that everything you predicted came true.
And you're more than welcome to come back because we'll show you exactly when our plans for expansion are going to be by then.
I love it. That'll be great. Joyce Favreau, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Best of everything.
Thank you.
Well, he's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Mike Hildebrand.
Quite a burden, Gordy.
I know, it's terrible. We talked about expansion just a little bit a few minutes ago, and here's a design of what's going to happen in the future. But you pointed out this window, and it won't be very long before we're going to be knocking walls out again here.
Well, we're very hopeful that if everything goes according to our schedule, by the last quarter of 2012, which isn't that far away,
No.
that we will actually be expanding out onto the roof between where we're standing and over where the intensive care unit and, most important, the two existing cath labs are. We'll be adding 2 additional cath labs. We'll be closing the one that you and Calvin were looking at earlier. And we will have expanded this short stay unit into a 20-bed unit from the 9 existing beds. It's pretty exciting.
It's pretty exciting, and all I can think of, and if the late, great Addie Shields were here, she would say, think of 1926. Gordy, stand here and look at the building. What would William H. Miner think if he could drive past this place today, be standing next to us? Who knows, his spirit might be here with us. But he would be thrilled and amazed, because he didn't spare the horses when he built this place.
No, I mean, it's really amazing the things that he did back in 1926. And over the last 20 years in particular, the evolution of this hospital has been phenomenal, and I don't think anything exceeds what's happened with the Heart Center. There was a tremendous need. We knew there was a need. I don't think we've ever done anything that people were more excited about than when we announced that we were going to be expanding our scope of services and bringing open heart surgery and angioplasty and electrophysiology here. I mean, everyone said, yes, there's a need. You've got to do that. We need that. And it's worked incredibly well. I mean, the quality of care has been phenomenal. We've been fortunate in attracting such very accomplished, dedicated people.
My goodness, yes.
And I'll tell you, it's been fascinating too. When we initially announced this internally, there were employees going, "Oh, I'm not so sure if this is a good
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
Can we really do that?" And we could really do that. They could really do that. And I think it's made everyone feel good, whether you're directly working with the Heart Center or you're working somewhere else, to know that this facility can pull this kind of care off very easily and with a high degree of patient satisfaction.
And with this place growing as it is, everybody who works here is part of a family. We've used that word before, but when we talk to people on camera and off camera, we find that to be true. And that must make you feel good, and I'm sure it makes Stevens feel good and everybody else. These employees are part of our family.
The employees here care very deeply about the quality of care. They care about the service. And I think one of the beautiful things is, I mean, again, this is a small community, even though almost half of our patients for cardiology do come from outside the county. But you're here, you're providing care for people that they live in your neighborhood, they go to your church, you've known them, I went to school with their brother kind of thing, and that too makes a difference.
Mike Hildebrand, what a pleasure it is to have you here. I remember the first day you came on the job. You and I have spoken privately and publicly dozens and dozens of times on the radio and television over the years, and you're a stalwart. And I mean, you didn't know when you first came here whether you'd be here 6 months or 5 years, and here you are. Pretty soon it'll be a couple of decades. Think about that.
Gordy, it's frightening. Very honestly, when I interviewed, I was told, we really want you for 3 to 5 years, and I thought, what an odd thing to say, because it's supposed to be forever, right? Even if you know it isn't going to be. And my wife and I have loved it, and I'm incredibly happy here. It's a great place.
Well, we're happy to have you, Mike. Thanks so much for entertaining us and for educating us here today. We've had a great time.
Thank you.
And who knows where we're going to be next.